now is 6:13, and let's talk about a big topic here on this Earth Week. Scientists say tiny pieces of plastic floating everywhere. They're in the air, the dirt, the water. Until recently, there really wasn't a way to know if they've made it into our bodies. In today's Earth 8 report, we're taking a look at what San Diego researchers are discovering about these microplastics.
Hey everybody, welcome to Studio 64. My name's David. I've been searching the interzones for more science, space and tech news to share with you. And I found this over at RT.com. Yes, microplastics found in human brain, according to research. Terrible. Let's find out what's happening. The pollutants could be linked to a rise in neurodegenerative diseases, study suggests. Oh boy, this is not good, is it? Researchers in Brazil have found microplastics in human brain tissue. A new study published on Monday in the American Medical Association's journal JAMA reveals microplastics pollution has emerged in recent years as a growing environmental and health concern. Now, as usual, I'll leave the links to the main article below the video, so you can pop in, check out the embedded links, go for a bit of a deeper dive if you want. Makes for an interesting read, believe me. As I say, not a medical person myself, not a medicologist, but this, anything to do with science and health and all that sort of thing, and tech and space, I absolutely love sharing these stories with people, and this is a major concern, believe me. Tiny pieces of plastic measuring between 0.0055 and 0.025 millimeters. My God, look at that. 0.00021 to 0.00098 of an inch. Wow. In size were previously detected in various human tissues in their blood and in the bloodstream. Their presence in the brain, however, up until now has remained undocumented, the paper explains. Now, a team at Sao Paulo University Medical School examined the brains of 15 deceased individuals aged 33 to 100 who had lived in Sao Paulo, the country's biggest city. Their research ran from February 2023 through to May of 2024, so quite recent. Yes, the scientists focused on tissues of the olfactory bulb, a small part of the brain that processes smell. Microplastics were detected in the samples taken from 8 of the 15 individuals tested. Well, basically 50% of them. Dear, oh dear. Interesting indeed. A total of 16 synthetic polymer particles and fibers were identified, with polypropylene detected the most common polymer at 43.8%. As I say, anybody knows anything more about this, please, if you're a scientist, please feel free to comment down below, because we'd love to hear from you what your thoughts are on this research. The location in the brain led the researchers to speculate that humans are breathing in the ubiquitous pollutants through their nose. Now, propylene is everywhere in furniture, rugs, clothes. Lead study author Dr. Tyas Mode, doctor if I mispronounced your name, told NBC News. We know that the place we are most exposed to particles is indoors because all of our homes are full of plastic. Oh dear. Polypropylene is also widely used in food packaging, such as bottles, jars, yogurt containers, and hot beverage cups. The breakdown of single-use bottles and packaging creates microplastic particles that consequently find their way into the human body via the digestive tract or by inhaling. Now, the presence of microplastics in the olfactory bulb means it could be a potential pathway for the particles to reach other parts of the brain, researchers have also found. Now, given the widespread environmental contamination with plastics, the findings should raise concerns, the researchers state. The microplastics could be contributing to the increasing prevalence of neurodegenerative diseases. Now, the first study to estimate human ingestion of plastics, published in 2019, suggested that the average human ingested 50,000 microplastic particles every year. Another study found that people on average could be ingesting approximately 5 grams or 0.18 of an ounce of plastic every week, with the equivalent in weight of a credit card. Very interesting indeed. And of course, as we know, that would accumulate over time, and that could be a real problem. As I say, there's the links to the references there. And definitely, if you want to know more about it, go to the American Medical Association journal just there with that link, because I'll leave the link to the main article, as I said, below the video. Now, we've got a little bit of a video here to give us a bit of background on these microplastics, and then we'll finish off the conversation when we come out the other side.
Time now is 6:13. And let's talk about a big topic here on this Earth Week. Scientists say tiny pieces of plastic floating everywhere. They're in the air, the dirt, the water. Until recently, there really wasn't a way to know if they've made it into our bodies. In today's Earth 8 report, we're taking a look at what San Diego researchers are discovering about these microplastics.
I just have to dilute them and put them in tubes and count them.
In this tube, researcher Kara Wiggin shows us the microplastics that have turned the water a light orange.
So they're all just really tiny dots.
For the purpose of her research here at the Scripps Institution of Oceanography at UC San Diego, she broke larger plastic pieces into these little fragments, since that's more similar to what's found in the real world.
And you can't see them at all.
But you can see them through the microscope. As she shines a blue light, they turn up green on her screen, and Wiggin counts them all.
I've been doing this for 10 years. I'm an amazing counter.
She was able to determine that each slide has about 1,500 microplastics, and that helps her know what she'll be putting into each of these.
So this is an oyster in here, and it's in sterile seawater right now, and eventually tomorrow I'll add microplastics and Vibrio perihemolyticus, the bacteria that causes food poisoning.
In this specific study, Wiggin is testing to find out if microplastics shuttle food poisoning into oysters.
Microplastics have been a really interesting field to watch over the last 15, 20 years because we've come a long way in terms of figuring out how to detect it.
In fact, the latest research shows microplastics have been discovered in our lungs and in our blood.
It's not that it wasn't there, it's just that the methods for detecting microplastics are pretty complex, pretty expensive, and time-consuming.
The newest form of testing has proven what scientists have long suspected.
Now we can use it to test, more parts of the body, our tissues, or, in our brains. Now we're able to definitively say that they stay in our body.
But many microplastic researchers still need to pinpoint how much we absorb, how much we release, and the harm they may cause.
In the past couple years, you've probably seen articles that state we ingest about a credit card's worth of plastic every single week. In this case, we'll use playing cards about the same size. Now think about that. Over a year, 52 cards worth of plastic going into our bodies. Wiggin explains a lot of that depends on how much plastic is in our daily life. If you drink from plastic water bottles regularly, if you eat from plastic bags and out of plastic containers often, and if you wear clothes made of polyester, spandex, nylon, yes, all those popular yoga pants, well, that's also sending microplastics into your body. And then think about all the plastic toys kids are constantly playing with. I mean, this motion alone, plastic hitting plastic, the friction, that sends microplastics into the air.
They're a little bit hard to avoid just because we've created such a mess. When you're sitting in your living room and there's a ray of light and you can see all the particles in the light, a lot of those are probably plastic.
That's because all the plastic we use gets broken down by friction or even melting and ends up in the air and in the ground. But it also ends up in the ocean where it breaks down more.
They end up being so small that they're lightweight and they can just float through air currents and wind.
It all goes into our food where it circles right back to us by either eating, breathing, or touching.
Everything from on land into the ocean comes back to humans, and it's just all a kind of a circular, interconnected world.
And as with most research, the more awareness and knowledge scientists like Wiggin can share, the more they hope people consider change.
So Wiggin does say that people often ask her, what in the world can we do about this? How do we clear microplastics from the earth, from our bodies? And she recommends, cutting back on plastic use in however way you can. Small ways can make a difference. She also suggests talking with local, state, national leaders to let them know that you're concerned about this. Surfrider, by the way, will be joining us on the CW San Diego in our 7 a.m. hour to show us some of the most common plastics that end up in the ocean. Just things that we can think about on how we can reduce a little bit.
That is a lot of plastic in the body.
It's everywhere.
That was shocking to me.
Mm-hmm. Especially you always see, like she said, when the light kind of hits the air and you see all the particles. And I always think I'm sure it's just dust.
We thought it was dust, but now they're seeing, no, it's like microplastics too. We breathe it in.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
it's everywhere.
You had, in your stand-up, you had the kids' toys and everything. I mean, I'm surrounded by that in my
It's
house.
everywhere. I mean, look, everything we're typing on, the friction of just touching plastic
really does add
sends
up.
it out.
And then it's all about those incremental changes,
Right,
like she
right.
said, just trying your best. This actually ties into my Earth Aid on Monday is the first zero waste grocery store in San Diego. And it was fascinating to see, like, you bring in your own glass jars and you fill up
We
your
don't
own
need
products. You don't need the
plastic.
plastic.
Yeah.
So there are ways to do it
Right.
that are pretty simple that we can make our day-to-day changes with.
Little
So
things do add up. Thank you for bringing that to us.
yeah,
course. I'm
that's a
glad we could-
fascinating story. She's also an amazing scientist
Right?
to be
Yeah.
doing all that.
Well, that was very interesting and rather concerning too, isn't it? As I say, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this because, as I say, there's just everything seems to be made of plastic. Even objects that aren't made of plastic can have plastic labels on them and plastic coatings and everything else. I mean, even my glasses are made of plastic. The things around this little room here, there's so many things that are made of plastic, and it certainly makes me wonder. Yeah. All right, well, my name is David. Thanks for joining me for another Studio 64 Science, Space and Tech News update. I shall see you in the next one. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe. I'd greatly appreciate it. If you're up for it, drop a comment down below the video because I'd love to hear what you think. All right, take care, and as I always say, if you can't be good at it. And as I also always say,
Take off!
5,